Cresta Gamakatsu, sponsors of the UK Angling Championships. Well, the sun is out, the sky is blue, and summer is well and truly upon us. That brings the UK Angling Championships, and round one, well, of course, it's Lindholme. Now, there's only a couple of people won this 3 times. You've done it twice. You got your eyes on the target again?
It'd be nice, yeah, but the venues this year, a couple of them are new to me, so it'd be hard work, and lots of travelling for me, but hopefully, it'll pay off.
How much of a test is the UK Champs?
It's a massive test, really. You've got the best anglers in the country. A lot of time it's on venues you don't know, and you've got venue regulars thrown in as well, so it is tough to sort of do well and win your new section every time, but hopefully we can do that.
UK Champs is massive now, isn't it?
It is. I think, well, without a doubt, you ask any angler, any match angler that wants to fish these big events, the UK Championships is the most prestigious event, simply because it's the gathering. It's the gathering of some of the best anglers in the country, getting together and battling it out for a podium topping place, and I think that's what makes it such a special event.
Back on the circuit and up at Lindholme now, Yorkshire. I remember a couple of 3 years ago, dobbing off the top. Massive weight for you on laurels, wasn't it?
Yes, yeah, I've had a couple of nice days here and hope for another good one today.
What do you reckon? Tactics-wise, something similar?
I don't come here a lot, so when I do come here, I look to fish the same really, either shallow or, like you were saying earlier, dobbing on a sunny day like this. So yeah, I look to put all my eggs in 1 or 2 baskets really, and hope it comes out well.
Expecting big things this year?
Well, if you can line up a couple of draws, who knows? But yeah, I'll be giving it my best, that's for sure.
What would your dream be?
Well, to win it. That's why we're all here, to win it. I'm not here to come second, so I'll give it my all to win it, and if it happens, it happens.
How does the UK Champs compare with things like Fishermania, Match This, Golden Reel?
I think it's tougher. I mean, those matches, if you look at, you only need to win 2 matches and you've won a big final. These, you need to be consistent in 4 matches on 4 different venues, so it takes a lot more, I think, to win this.
I describe UK Champs as the nearest thing to a professional circuit that we've got in the UK really, so yeah, it's mega high standard.
Decision making, timing, swim management, all those factors are very important to get good points and get a podium topping place in this prestigious event.
The lineup of 80 is split into 8 sections of 10. So there's 8 mini competitions going on at the same time. Now the anglers at the moment, they don't know where they're going to be fishing, and also they don't know who they're going to be fishing against. That is dealt with by a random draw. The draw's taken place now and the weather is absolutely fantastic today. It's going to be a tough one, and I've got Ray King joining me to talk about what the lads are doing now. Weather conditions first and foremost. You need some sun cream on that.
How rude. It's a hot one already, isn't it?
Absolutely. It's going to be a tough day today, isn't it?
We've not even started yet and the sun's beating down on us. It's surely going to affect the style of fishing today, without doubt.
What can we expect, do you think?
Well, I mean, I think we're going to be looking at a lot of fish being caught shallow today. Mugging is going to play a big part. That's when big fish are cruising around in the lake and people are trying to pick them off without necessarily throwing any feed at them. People will be trying to make a decision whether they need to fish caster shallow or pellet shallow. Also, because of the heat, because of the sun, a lot of the big fish might be trying to get a little bit of shade and find cover today, so possibly tight to the island will work. If anybody has a small feeder chuck, or if they can reach with a pole, they might be going down that tactics as well. Maybe when it cools down later on toward the end of the match. Remember, we're fishing quite a late match today. I think we're fishing at 6 o'clock. Most matches in the country have already stopped by then. Big fish should be looking to come down the edge, so maybe when it's cooler in the margins later on in the match.
That last hour is always deadly, but
Absolutely.
one of the things I always like about Lindholme is the variety. There's lots and lots of different lakes. We've got a full contingent. It's round one, so there's 80 anglers on the bank today.
Yeah.
This lake behind us, Bonsai, very, very different, quite tight, quite intimate, and yet you look at the other lake, Loco, enormous, loads of room, very big.
Absolutely. I mean, I wouldn't say the pegging is necessarily tight on this lake, but it's certainly, you've got little bomb chucks to islands, little nooks and crannies, little pockets of places where the fish can hide up. The tactics will be slightly different to what we see on the other lakes, which are a lot bigger. I'm led to believe they hold a lot more substantially bigger carp, and also big different tactics. Be pellet waggler, be bomb, be big method feeder chucks. So anything could happen today.
Absolutely, anything could happen. Anything is likely to happen, but one thing that is absolutely sure is you need to be an expert in almost everything to win the UK Champs. John, they call you end peg Arthur, and lo and behold, guess what's happened?
I think there's about 8 end pegs on this lake today. Looking at it, everyone's got loads and loads of room, so there's only 2 on this bank. So the chance of me drawing an end peg is pretty high, I think.
Well, Jamie, Plum Lake, Plum Swim?
Yeah, I think so. It's a lake I've known nothing at all about. I've never sat on this one before, but the talk at the draw was everyone fancied it. So, but in all honesty, that's not what we're here for, though, is it? It might be the lake that wins the match, but I'd rather have a nice sensible peg somewhere else on a nice lower weight job. I think by the sounds of it, you're going to need a really big weight on this lake.
You can see some big shadows there, but there's hopefully a load of great big F1s underneath them as well. So it'd be, I think this is going to be you're going to want well over £100 to win this lake today.
It was looking good a minute ago. There were lots floating about, but that breeze has got up and it's blowing towards Mr. Arthur as usual, and I think it might take him with it.
Well, here we are, the start is now upon us, and we have a very, very interesting start up here at Lindholme. It's the only place this happens, and it takes a certain man to do it and a certain skill as well. Neil, over to you. Well, here's our defending champion, Andy Power. It's Bonsai, and it is peg 11, and it's quite a tight peg, this one, isn't it? What's he going to be starting off with?
Well, I mean, it looks like Robbie next to him is like fishing over tight to the island. Obviously, Andy can do that, but he's obviously chose not to. His island would appear to be a lot closer than Robbie's is. It would appear at the moment he's fishing, cupping in small, probably mats of worm and caster. He appears to be fishing on the deck, I believe, at the moment. Robbie's into another one next to him, going over to the islands, but Andy's now, it would appear, going over to the island for the first time. He's just kinder potting his baiting and trying to emulate the fall of the hook bait at the same time.
Is that a fish straight away, or is that a snag?
I'm not sure if that's a fag.
Just dropped it back in a little bit too tight into that far side there, so not the best of starts for Andy at the moment. And you know, when you start a competition like this, it's always important just to be calm and cool at the beginning, because if it goes wrong for you right at the start, it can upset you for a long time, can't it?
I think I know they say that matches aren't won and lost in the first hour, but that can really set the tone for the rest of the match. You know, if you could just hold it together, have a good, confident first hour, that really does set you up, as you say, for the rest of the match.
Let's have a look at Robbie Taylor next door to Andy Power. Andy's into fish. He's got a little bit more room to the small island in front of him, 2 nice gaps on either side. And in the short period of time that we've been looking at Andy, we've seen Robbie catch a couple of fish. He's got another one on at the moment, and we'll stick with Robbie to see what he's catching, while Andy Power next door is also into a fish as well. So Robbie nets it very, very quickly. And that's a decent carp. That's 5 or 6
it's
pounds.
a decent mirror.
Immediately Andy hits back there straight away, and I've got to say that that bait was in up against the island for no time at all. In fact, it had probably only just cocked the float by the time it whipped round again. I think he's on maggots. It looked like he got a red and a white maggot on when he shipped out there.
Being fairly patient with the fish. It doesn't seem to be any massive hurry to get it in, pulling the light elastic through the puller bung, giving himself every chance of landing it.
So that's a barbel.
A little billy.
Yeah, it's a barbel. 2-3 pound barbel.
Yeah, maybe not quite that much, but they're certainly good little weight builders, the barbel. Sometimes they can be real little terriers to get off the bottom, you know. They can fight really dogged and really hard.
That would come in quick.
That wasn't too bad.
That was all right, wasn't it? Cresta Gamakatsu, sponsors of the UK Angling Championships.
I'd like to talk to you about the Cresta Blackthorn range feeder rods. Specifically designed for commercial fisheries. They've got a parabolic action, very soft, forgiving. They go from 2.7 metres up to 3.5 metres. Very affordable as well. Perfect rod for all situations. Also, we've now got the Rolls Royce for 2018, the Identity. This is more of your traditional rod, which basically is a stiffer action. Again, designed for longer casts, bigger fish, slightly more expensive. The carbon we've used in this is absolutely top. The Identity comes with Fuji reel seats, 3 spare tips. The finish on them is perfect, ideal for braid or nylon. If you're into your feeder fishing, this is the rod for you.
Cresta Gamakatsu, sponsors of the UK Angling Championships. Zach Brown now around the corner on Bonsai, up on the track bank as you drive in, and he's had a bit of a slow start, but he's into something half decent now.
Yeah, it looks a slightly bigger fish.
They do love that mud bank that's directly in front of him there, and again another one who's fishing very tight to the far side.
Yeah, you saw a swell of some other fish just disrupt the water, then Zach hooked that one.
He's very quick with his netting, Zach. Of course, he matched this a few years ago. Very, very capable angler, been in the UK Championships for a few years now. And that's a decent carp.
Yeah, big mirror.
Don't need many of them. And let's see, that looks like worm going in there. And it's a similar tactic, he's fishing a foot deep there.
Yeah.
Slightly more worm.
Yeah, slightly bigger bit than what he's chopping up in the pole pot or the little cupping kit. Again, he's having to be really smooth how he ships it out so he doesn't end up losing what's in the toss pot.
No. Is he going straight into that shadow there? Or is he going to go by the reed? He's just on the edge of where the shadow and the reed go. No, he's gone into that shadow line.
These guys are all fishing as literally as tight, as far up that shelf as they can get it. And again.
Smaller fish,
Yeah, I don't think they're huge fish.
Oh.
I wonder if that's foul looks.
Yeah, he could have done with getting it out of there. It was hanging around right on the dance floor for a long time then, wasn't it? So you don't want that, do you, really? As soon as you hook them, you want them out of the way.
Dance floor at all.
Chuck them out the door. They don't need to be strutting the stuff there. They need to be out of the way. Get the bouncer in. But it's out now. It's looking pretty safe. Tip down. Pull on the puller kit, and this is where Zach comes into his own. He's very, very, very controlling with these fish.
Looks like a bigger fish than the first four, actually.
I'm just about to say exactly the same thing. It looked like it was tiny to begin with, but
Yep.
I think that's possibly because it didn't know what it was doing, but that is a good fish.
Yeah, it is, yeah.
You know, there's a,
Well, it is a lot better than I thought, yeah.
there's
Definitely.
a chunk that was well worth waiting for.
What is it, like four or 5 pounds? Can't quite see from here. He's just put eight pound in the net since we've been stood here, I'm sure.
Well, this is the local venue expert, Nick Speed,
The expert.
and the first thing that you will notice is that he's on a rod and reel rather than on a pole as well, and he's fishing a method feeder up against an island, and he is probably double the weight of anyone else that we've seen so far. So clearly this is the way to be in this peg at the moment. Nick, just tell us what you're doing.
Well, basically I'm fishing a single maggot with ground bait. I suppose it's the same principle, Rob, as fishing down the margins. I'm fishing a nice light hook bait, so when they're coming in and feeding on the ground bait, the maggot isn't actually a target bait, it's a coincidence. They could be sucking up bait inches away from where my maggot is, but because the maggot's so light, it naturally goes into the mouth.
You're fishing very tight against that margin as well.
I am, because what happens is, under pressure, the fish get spooked easy, and as a result, they start patrolling really tight against the banking. And of course, by fishing near the shallow water, it's the shallowest part of the actual swim. So I'm going to receive less line bites and more indications, more actual bites.
That was only a little one, but they're coming thick and fast.
Well, it just shows how hard the venue is fishing when those little fish have the opportunity to take your hook bait.
We're behind Greg Norris now, the other end of bonsai, and we're not sure whether Greg's actually mugging him or whether he's fishing paste. He's a paste expert, actually, Greg.
Definitely a bigger fish. One of the bigger ones we've seen hooked so far today.
Yeah, he's on fairly light elastic, but he's attached to a bit of a tank there. Been around the UK Champs a long time, as Greg. Likes this venue.
Big old pole pot on there as well on the end.
Yeah. Long old float as well. That's not a mugging float.
No, that's not. That's paste on the deck, I'm sure.
It's funny because paste's one of those things that you can either do or you can't do, and Greg's an absolute master when he's fishing paste, and we're surmising that that's what he's doing. But everything so far indicates that that may well be his style. Let's have a look now. Oh, decent fish.
Decent fish, you don't need many of those, mate.
We're now on Laurels, and this is a very interesting lake. It's long and square, but there are promontories sticking out all the way through it, and you're either on the bank or alternatively on a point, so lots and lots of margin work everywhere. Interesting venue.
Absolutely, it's a lot different to the other lake, for example, Bonsai, that we've just looked around. Not as many nooks and crannies, there's no island, everyone seems to have an open water line, and then they'll be looking at maybe doing something down the edges. Just looking here, we can see a lot of the bigger fish cruising around the lake, so maybe a few of the guys will be trying to mug them. That might be a tactic they bring in later. Not a lot going on at the moment though, very bright, very still, very hot.
Well, the mid stages of match are always quite tricky, but we've got a fantastic battle going on down here. You can see just behind the man in blue who's fishing down the edge to his right hand side. That is Simon Fry. He's always a regular in the UK Champs, and he's always up there. Over there, the man in white, that is John Wincup. Now, John Wincup last year won just shy of £100,000 in winnings. He is, without any shadow of doubt, one of the best and in-form match anglers at the moment. You know him quite well, don't you?
Yeah, I know really reasonably well. Met him a few times now, it'd be fair to say. Started going over to Decoy, lake, one of the lakes he fishes a lot. And to say, I mean, he didn't have a bad year last year. That would be an understatement. The match fish final, and then he went on to win the Park Dean. So yeah, I mean, he deserved it. He's a good guy.
Hasn't he
as well.
qualified from Fisher as well, from Decoy
Golden
as well?
Reel, he qualified from Golden Reel.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
so he's through to another one. He hasn't won that yet. Don't bet against him.
Absolutely.
Let's
not.
have a look at the man in dark blue over there on the far side. That's England International. That's Lee Kerry as well. So there are three of the best match anglers, all pegged next door to each other in this section. Going to be really, really interesting. It's a tight, tough area. We know it's got a good track record. Mark Roger won from the swim that Lee Kerry is in. He won the whole competition I think 4 years ago from that peg as well. So it's got a good track record, but conditions are really, really tough. Beaches now, and this corner of the lake where Darren is, we were expecting to be half decent, but it looks to be very, very quiet at the moment. Just directly opposite there, that's a small silver.
Yep, caught on the deck. You've got to be pretty busy to put a weight together of those, even on a day like today.
They seem to know, you know, in carp fishing circles, they know when they're being fished for and they get to move, and there's quite a lot of space on this lake at the moment. And just as we saw on Laurels a moment ago, the fish know exactly where they're not being fished for, and they're just stacked up down that edge. The common pattern around the lakes that we've seen, these are the smaller lakes that we've seen, is that the fish seem to want to be either in the shade or up against cover. They're not overly confident out in the middle of the lake. Loco now, and this is the lake that we are expecting big things from. It's not been part of the UK Champs Tour before, so it's a new lake for everybody, but there are some really, really big carp in here, aren't there?
Yeah, I mean, I think the guys in the shop have said they've been caught up to sort of high 20s, 26, 27 pound, which would make you envious even.
Absolutely, yeah, it's a big old load of fish in here, and there's a massive amount of space as well. You know, it's 5 acres. There's only 10 anglers on it. It's hot. That's all I can say. It is really, really hot. And as that temperature cools down, that is when the men will be sorted out from the boys. So, Loco now, the lake that we think is going to produce the bigger weight of fish, and we're behind A.D. Lindsay on peg 42. And he's on the pellet waggler, and this is a method we thought might well do a little bit of damage. Out it goes, plop it lands, cast, feed, wait, cast, feed, wait.
You can see AD's picked his spot, he's chucking his float out in line with his marker on the far bank. He's greeping his pellets, he's letting the float settle initially to give that fall, the first fall through the water, and then he gives it another twitch and that happens.
Look at that, straight away. There's clearly quite a few fish out there, and he's got a plumb peg here because where those fish are is in that perfect zone, just on the edge of the flat water and the ripple. Carp are the target, obviously, when you're doing this.
It's a nice F1.
There we are. A decent size of F1 in here, aren't they?
Yeah, they're definitely weight builders, mate. Cool, that was lucky.
It's nearly a landing net snapper then, and the hook came out. Could have lost the fish, could have lost the net, could have lost the rig, could have lost all sorts, but you know what, he got all of them. And that, when your luck's in on a day like this,
absolutely, when
the chips fall in the right place, you can have a really nice day out. So let's have a look at one of the danger men in this section on Loco, and this is Johnny Arthur. He's won the UK Champs 3 times already. And he's opted for a very different tactic to everyone else. We've seen that pellet waggler is a very, very good method down here. But John has decided to go on the pole line. He's shallow and he's in again, and we know exactly what he's doing. He's fishing for F1s, isn't he?
Absolutely, mate. What he's doing is he's just picking casters out. He's getting to fish a bung now. They don't even have to be huge fish. If he's coming back every time with a £1.5, £2, £2.5 F1, he's going to be racing ahead. I would have said that you're already looking at the section winner potentially here.
Yeah, we've spoken all the way through that there's going to be a fish race at the end, but the problem with any sprint finish is that you've got to be within touching distance of the bloke in front of you.
Absolutely.
And, you know, if he carries on as he's going at the moment, he's going to be so far ahead that even if somebody does come in and put £50 on in the last hour,
they won't be able to catch him.
They won't touch him because he will have a good finish as well. And it was interesting speaking to him before, there was an awful lot of fish directly in front of him. You know, some of those were big carp. There's a lot of decent carp out there.
Yeah.
But rather than targeting the carp, he's targeting the F1s because he knows he can catch them quicker. Cresta Gamakatsu, sponsors of the UK Angling Championships.
Cresta nets, 4 in the range, 2 types, rubber and your traditional. Firstly, your rubber net, very small mesh, specifically designed so that no hair rigs or bands or hooks will hook up on it. And also another good feature of this net is when you're finished with it, a simple shake a couple of times and it's dry. Then more of your traditional net. Now this one has got larger eyes, a nylon net. All the nets have got really strong spreader blocks. They're all screwed together, which makes them really strong. These nets are the best on the market.
Cresta Gamakatsu, sponsors of the UK Angling Championships. Well, halfway stage in the game now, and tell you what, day for ice cream, not necessarily a day for being on the bank. It's hot, isn't it, and it's hard.
Yeah, it seems that way. I mean, you will expect that to a certain extent when there's not much breeze. What we seem to be finding is the breeze seems to be coming and going. Certain parts of the lake, there's not so much. Other parts, definitely anglers who have got a little bit of ripple are catching something. Casters certainly be better in the ripple, but I think that when the day cools down, we're going to see fish coming into the margins without doubt.
It's still pretty open at the moment, isn't it? You know, we've looked at a few of the lakes and different tactics are working in different areas, but they are so different. You know, Bonsai is a very short range, tight, almost like a snake lake.
Yep.
And yet, Strip, similar-ish, Loco, big, wide open, beaches, pleasure lake.
I mean, we've seen everything really here today, Rob, haven't we? All tactics, everybody trying to keep up with the next angler and do something different possibly. You would say that the person going to win today has possibly caught a few on several different methods. He's going to come catch some down the edge, he might have caught a few short, he might have caught some shallow, he might have had someone with a big chuck on the waggler. Certainly I don't think one person will win it by doing the same thing all day.
Yeah, the key is perfect UK Championships, particularly when it comes to this place, which is you have to be adaptable. That's what you've got to do. You can't come here with one plan in your mind. You've got to come here being able to do an awful lot of things. And one of the key things is, of course, that last hour. The UK Champs is fished from 1 till 6. Normal matches finish at 5 o'clock. Last hour, that's going to be the deadly one.
Going to be carpet clock, as they say.
Absolutely. We look forward to it. Behind Jamie Hughes now on Loco, and this is a man that could well challenge John Arthur for that pole position. We know he's had a really, really good day, and he's caught a few tanks as well as quite a few F1s as well. Have you seen a bit of a change in tactics there? He was a little bit shallower than that. He's just gone a little bit deeper now. Maybe the fish are moving down on the feed as opposed to up, which is quite a surprise, but there we go. Let's have a look what it is. There's a fish relatively straight away, and he had a couple of goes with his shallower kit, and he's changed over, and within one cast, that's it, bang, he's in straight away again. And this is what matters. This is the difference at this level of fishing, isn't it? You know, we are absolutely at the top of the pile, and this man is well and truly there too. So, you know, you've got the likes of John Arthur and Jamie Hughes fishing together. One small fish could make all the difference because they're going to be tight.
Yeah, I mean, it's always worth having 2 or 3 different, when you're fishing shallow, it's always worth having 2 or 3 different depths of rigs and shotting patterns set up. You can always put one away, just as Jamie done there, put another one out and it'll go within 2 or 3 chucks.
This is John Arthur, end peg Arthur as we call him. He always draws an end peg, and he's got one this time around. And one of the things with him as well is he is an amazingly efficient angler, and just everything about him, precision, attention to detail. We spoke briefly beforehand, but have a look at his pole tip.
Yep,
you know,
one again.
It's not a massive thing, but it does make a little bit of difference, because the fact that, look at that, there's a bite straight away. How long's he been out there?
Seconds.
He's probably getting, I would say, a bite a minute at the moment.
It also appears John's hardly even really striking conventionally when the float goes under. You can just see him keeping everything nice and smooth, feeding accurately around the end of his float, and the elastic's just coming out, which means the fish are coming up in the water, grabbing the bait, hooking themselves, making it even easier.
And he's baiting up there.
The moorhens or the coots are having a little bit of a nibble as well.
Yeah. Coots are definitely on it, but there it is. There's another one. You've got a bit of breeze blowing into this corner.
Lovely.
You've got a man that's on fire. I think at this stage in the game, we're potentially looking at a match winner now. That's a very, very bold statement to make this early on. Okay. But it wouldn't surprise me if he isn't at least in the top 5. Bit of a change in tactics again. And this is what it's all about. You need to make those decisions and make those decisions very quickly. And that tactic has paid off indeed, straight away. It's a joy to watch this, isn't it, when you see 2 anglers of this calibre fishing in 2 very, very different styles, but doing it so, so well.
Absolutely.
You know, this is,
God,
that was the commentator's curse there, doing it so well. That was an incredible bit of bad luck there. There's nothing you can say to that. They happen, you just got to get out. He's got to get it back out there.
There's plenty more out there.
We're just looking across the strip lake there at Dale Shepherd, and he seems to be the man of the moment on this lake. And it's only a very small lake strip, isn't it? What, 30, 40 yards wide, 100 yards long, 10 anglers. Not a lot to look at, just straightforward open water in front of them.
It is, yeah. I mean, most of the guys on here would appear to be using the pole. There's not really certainly any scope for chucking a waggler out. I know Andy Kinder's been chucking his little method over where he has been pinging his pellets, but certainly it's pole dominated, and the guys are now looking to come down the edge towards the later stages of the match as well.
Seems to be that the edge is the place to be, certainly on this lake at the moment, primarily because they like that cover.
Yeah.
And we're just looking now at Dale Shepherd. We see the orange of his elastic stretched out in front of him as he plays yet another fish, and Dale seems to be well and truly in the lead.
Yep.
Although we did see last year here that Andy Power, who was pegged just to the left of where we stood, where Chris van der Vliet is at the moment, he'd caught virtually nothing until the last half hour, and he decided to go down the edge on corn.
Yep.
And ended up winning the match.
Yeah, he did.
And he went from nowhere to actually winning the whole match.
It just goes to
in an
show,
hour.
doesn't it? I mean, when the weights are low, you have to keep plugging away. You never know what can happen. When you really start getting a margin come to life, it's amazing the amount of fish you can put in your net in such a short period of time. Dale's now gone down to his top kit, using his puller bung. Interesting as well that the whole duration of time he's been playing that fish, he's still been pinging pellets over the line, ready. So when he slips this one into the net, which is going to be any second, he's already primed that swim up for his rig to lay back into it once again.
Yeah, good looking fish that as well. It looks like he's got a bit of weight there.
I thought you were going to say Dale.
And safely in the net, and that will be a great fish for Dale Shepherd. That's a decent carp. Well, this lake behind us is Willows, and there are 10 anglers on it. It's nice, wide and open. There used to be an awful lot more trees around it, and there have been some very, very big weights in the past. And just looking down, you can see that it's a square lake with promontories coming over, very similar to Laurels. Now, F1s are the target here, and we've seen elsewhere around the complex that the F1s are feeding today.
There certainly are. I mean, the F1s don't have to be huge to be weight builders. I mean, if you're putting a 1 pound or £1.5 fish in the net every few minutes, it doesn't take long to build up a good weight of fish. Lots of open water fishing in this lake, no big island chucks. Down the edge later on, definitely going to play a part as well.
Castor, that's probably going to be the target.
Casters seem to be the bait on the day for the F1 shallow here, definitely. They seem to be outscoring pellets. Pellets seem to be better on the wagglers, chucked further out, definitely.
So we're back on Laurels again, and we're looking over at John Wincup. This is the three-way battle with Simon Fry, Lee Carey and John Wincup in the same section. And it was very quiet when we came down earlier, and it's looking relatively quiet still. Lee Carey there with Frankie Giannicelli just behind him. They'll be just having a chat about tactics, and Lee is very, very tight on the edge. We can just see his float tucked right up against that little bit of sedge in between him and the next pallet to the right-hand side of him.
Winnie's in.
That's the first fish that we've seen the three of them catch, and let's have a look at this. John Wincup is in.
Just a small silverfish by looking at that one.
That was almost a swinger, and as a result, that's not a good sign at this late stage of the day. We're into the last hour now, and this is when they should be absolutely sacking up. They should be down the edge, and that pole elastic should be twanging all over the place.
Yeah, I mean, despite the day getting later, we spoke about this earlier, that the fact that the match is going on an hour later than normal matches would. This fish still hot. We're still very hot.
Lee Carey's got one from down the edge now. Be interesting to see what this is. It looks like it might be an F1. That's not a big fish by any stretch of the imagination. It's not no, not a small one. But then again, if it's tough all around the lake, you don't have to have hundreds and hundreds of pounds. If it's a £60 match, it's a £60 match. Just looking over at Pete Bailey there, and he's just netted a reasonable carp, and there's a bit of a scrap going on in this bonsai section. This is the section of doom, and Robbie Taylor here, been very, very consistent through the course of the day.
Still on that long pole line.
Well, Andy Power, our defending champion, is not having the best of days, and he's mentioned the word pants when he's talking about his day. Pete Bailey has started catching. Zach Brown was having a good start, and of course, round the corner earlier, we saw Nick Speed, who was absolutely caning it.
He was, yeah.
So, you know, this is a massive, massive section, and any single point that you can gain in this section might have a dramatic effect at the end of the tournament. So,
Absolutely.
Andy Power was right up against it. He wanted a good result in the first round. Is he going to get one? Back with Nick Speed now, and exactly the same tactics as we saw him on earlier. He's on the feeder. He's up against the far side, and Kel Surprise's still sacking. Let's just have a look now as he plays that fish just under his feet. It looks to be another decent carp. Moving a bit of water there, and you know, it doesn't take a lot of those to knock up a big weight.
Another little mirror on the method.
Zach Brown there still steadily catching more or less from the same spot, and the race is on in this section with plenty of anglers claiming in the region of 70 to 80 pounds.
Yeah, it's very close to call at the moment.
It's always difficult to know, isn't it? Well, like you said earlier, the fish sizes are quite different. So, you know, a 3-pounder comes in, then a 1-pounder will come in, and it might get a bonus 6 or 7, and it's quite difficult to call it. But Zach's still well and truly on it. He doesn't feel he's done as well as he thinks he should have, but nevertheless, he's catching a few, and he's up there in section. Cresta Gamakatsu, sponsors of the UK Angling Championships.
Cresta EVA luggage. When you're fishing in a match situation, you need lots of bait boxes. These come in all different sizes. They all fit inside each other. You've got your ground bait bowl, which can hold up to 2 kilos of ground bait. You've got your 2-pint bait boxes, which is perfect for all baits. You've also got your zip version. If it's raining at all, and you've got live baits in, you can simply zip them up like so. I actually use these for putting my accessories in, i.e. hooks and feeders and leads or whatever you want, but you can use them for whatever you like. And they all fit together and go in the EVA base bag, which comes very robust zips and a nice easy carry-all.
Cresta Gamakatsu, sponsors of the UK Angling Championships. Chris Barley there, and he's put in a bit of a late charge. We've just managed to come around now. He's got a barbel there by the looks of it, but he's had a few decent fish, hasn't he?
Yeah, Chris just saying that he's had a 2 for 30 in the last few minutes. It just goes to show the stamp of fish that come in the margins to feed late on this lake.
He's just fishing worm down the edge there, and these carp do get right the way in, really, really tight under that marginal sedge. And yeah, if there's 1 or 2 around, you never know. This could be an upset. He's been quiet up until the last bit, but 2 fish for £30, that makes a massive, massive difference.
Yeah, absolutely. Chris is saying that he's pushing hopefully maybe around the £110 mark now.
Well, the final few moments of the match now. It is last half an hour and we are behind Jamie Hughes. Loco is the lake. It's flattened off. He's had a go down the edge, but he's been struggling down there, back out towards the middle. He's on the pole again, and he's looking at in the region of 120, 130. Which we mark him just behind John Arthur at the moment. We have Chris Barley next door, who's claiming a similar sort of weight in the region of 120. And of course, we're looking at overall match honours, but also more importantly, this is points for the overall title. And if you win the overall match, you get a no-point score.
That's correct,
so you get a bonus point off if you win the overall match. Win your section, it's 1 point, second, third, fourth, obviously 2, 3 and 4 points. So every single place that you can stay up is a point later on. And that make a massive difference towards the end of the tournament. So there are 3 men in the race on this lake. We have John Arthur, we have Chris Barley, we have Jamie Hughes. It looks like John Arthur's tactic of going for those F1s all the way through the course of the day. That seems to be paying off. He's had a look down the edge and he's been back out in the middle of the pond again. He's claiming at the moment 150s, and Jamie Hughes is straight into fish now, and this is where Jamie excels. Speed fishing. There's only a few moments left. We're in the latter stages of the match, but every single one of these fish now will be vital.
Absolutely, I say every point to play for now. Points are so important. Just a few ounces can make that difference.
Jamie's just lost that fish. Is that going to be crucial? So this is where we have the final race, the sprint finish. Who is in the lead? Is it the man on his feet over there in the distance, John Arthur, who is putting the net under yet another of those F1s? He's been flying all the way through. It's in the net, and that looks like it's a decent fish. And lo and behold,
Jamie Hughes.
would you believe it, next door, Jamie Hughes is literally fish for fish. It's an F1 this time. It's slightly smaller, but nevertheless, it is fish for fish. And it's been a little bit like that all the way through. Now, I would say that Arthur's bite rate is quicker than Hughes's. However, Jamie's fish sometimes are bigger than John's.
Also, Jamie said that at the start of the match he mugged quite a few of the real big carp in the lake at the start on the waggler.
But we just see John Arthur who catches one, and lo and behold, would you believe it, next door, what's happening? We have Jamie Hughes. Jamie is into yet another fish.
Really lining them up. Jamie was just saying he had a quiet spell a few minutes ago. They've certainly come back on the feed now, without doubt. Nice F1 again.
Let's just time how quick he can get a fish. There are literally minutes left on the clock now. Is he going to get a bite? It will be all over any minute now. And there it is. That is the gunshot. And looking over at John Arthur, John is playing one. Is this going to be a reflection of what the day is like for Jamie and John? Will someone else have come into the equation from somewhere else? We don't know. Jay, it's been a hot day and you've been at it all day.
It has. It's been a little warm, hasn't it, today? But I've enjoyed myself. I've caught plenty of fish. Not quite enough, I don't think. I think John's, I think he'll have quite a bit more than me, to be honest. I think he'll be 30, 40, even not 50 pound head. I just felt I've lost it a bit with that ripple. Whenever the ripple went, it'd go a bit funny on me. I wouldn't be able to catch F1s, but I could mug them when the ripple went. But then later on, it sort of, you see it now, for 20 metres there's no ripple and then there's a ripple, so it's affected me catch at the end. But I've still had a great day.
Do you reckon it's a carp or an F1 day?
A bit of both. I think everything's fed on here. It's saying that the carp aren't really fed. I've mugged them. I've not caught any where I've fed. But the F1s have definitely had a chew. But it's a nice big lake, this. It's different to all the others in that we've probably had a bit of wind today. And I imagine everyone else is a little bit hot and sticky today.
Yeah, absolutely. Tell me about the edge.
Yeah, I think I've messed it up, to be honest, Rob. It's probably about 4 foot deep. I think I've just fed too much bait there. I've lumped a load of bait in. There was lots of liners, but there were lots of F1s in my peg. I should have kept it a lot more simple. Maybe ping some pellets there, or I don't know. I don't know. I definitely feel I've made a mistake. But I've caught plenty of fish shallow as well. So I think I should have just concentrated on shallow and forgot about the edge altogether.
Happy with the start to the year?
Yeah, definitely. It's all you want to be is top 2, top 3 in this event from the first match, just so you feel like you've got somewhere to go. There's nothing worse than having a nightmare first match, so at least we've had or hopefully, we haven't seen the weights yet, but hopefully we're up there on the first one.
Pete, section of doom, you've come out the victor. That must have been a great last hour.
Yeah, I've had a fabulous last hour. I've caught predominantly large carp over on the far bank. It's been hectic, quite hectic for a while, yeah.
Great start to the tournament for you as well, and you know, a bit of a statement. This section was definitely the one that everybody got their eyes on, some massive names in it.
Yeah, fish have fins, obviously. I've managed to draw a good peg. I've got a little bit of room. I'd like to think I've made the best of it. As you can see, I mean, there are names behind me and names around the corner. It's just been my day, I guess.
What do you think of the other venues?
Different, very different. I think it'll certainly suit those that know how to catch F1s. And speed fishing, I think, will be that they will be the contenders and will certainly come in the top 20, I think, this year. And there are a few very, very good anglers that will do it. Jamie Hughes being one. They know how to catch F1s better than anybody else. So I feel that we will have our work cut out this year. As long as we can continue like this, some good weather, some good draws, anything's possible.
Third way for John Arthur now. We have 33 kilo 325 on the scales already, plus this one. This is 24 kilo 300 on top of that. That is already in the region of 150 pounds. We've been estimating in pounds, and of course the UK champs is weighed in kilos, so there will be a little conversion. And wow, look at that. This is going to put John Arthur certainly towards the 200 pound plus, if not 100 kilos, and it's carp and F1s that have been the target. John, it's been a brilliant day for you.
Yeah, one carp. Don't know how some of these roach and that got in amongst those F1s. Those muggers went straight away.
22 kilo 475.
So we join Jamie Hughes now, 38 kilos so far. 56,425. And the final fish in there, more carp yet again. It looks like it will be in the region of 70 kilos. Maybe a little more.
18 kilos 650.
18 kilos 650 is the last weigh for Jamie. That makes 75 kilo.
76 kilos and 25 grams.
76 kilos and 25 grams. Last weigh now for John Arthur. 80 kilos 100 grams on the scales already. There's over 20 kilos. 22 kilos and 25 grams. That makes 102 kilos 125 grams for John Arthur. That is an absolutely enormous weight. John, 100 kilos, that's an amazing result, especially as we thought it was going to be carp that were the target earlier on.
Yeah, there was loads of shapes there in the morning. I had a feeling they might disappear, and once the ripple gets up, you can't see them anyway. I probably wasted the first 40 minutes chucking a waggler out at them, and they soon moved out off the pole line. And I had one carp and one F1 in that period, but all the while I was feeding a cast of shallow line. And I know if you run them here, you can do a big weight of those F1s on caster shallow, and that's what's happened.
They're big fish as well, aren't they?
Yeah, some of them, yeah, they go up to 4 or 5 pound in here. So, I mean, at times you go through periods of like small pounders, and then you get a run of 2 pounders and 3 pounders, and going up and down in the depths as well. It
was interesting watching your bite rate as well, because we were reckoning that you were getting a fish every 5 minutes to begin with, then it was covering every sort of 2 to 3 minutes. Yeah, there was an odd lull. I mean, I have fed a margin swim, and I've had a couple of looks down the edge just to give it a bit of a rest and let the fish regroup. But there's been loads of fish there, loads of fish. So that seems to be a great start. We don't know what's happening elsewhere, but I can't see that that's going to be beaten. We don't know yet, of course, but that's a big difference, isn't it? Yeah, that can make all the difference at the end, as it proved last year. And there it is, the leaderboard at the end of round 1, and John Arthur well and truly at the top with 102,175. Now remember, all of the guys in that list, they won their section. They're on 1 point, and the weight will only matter if it comes back to a countback. Just look at the names there: Lee Kerry, Pen Brighting, Pete Bailey. Some massive names already establishing themselves at the top of the pile. So there we are, round 1 is over, and what a fantastic event it has been. It's been hot, not just air temperature, but also the fishing has been scorching as well. That man, Johnny Arthur, well, he did it yet again. Next time, we'll be back from Decoy.